You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III.
We live in complicated times. Diplomacy is a prized skill in these very interesting circumstances. There is a war underway in Ukraine, and with a showdown that was witnessed in the White House between President Donald Trump and President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, we know that there is now a clear divide in terms of the approaches that Western Europe and the United States are adopting vis-a-vis the war.
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are not strong...
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's respectful
to
come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You
God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this.
I'm not
You're in
dictating.
no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very
You
strong.
will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war,
You're not in a good position. You don't have the
the
cards right now. With us, you start having
not
cards.
playing cards.
But right now, you don't.
I'm
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're gambling
I'm the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War III.
What do you
You're
think about?
gambling
What
with
do you
World
think
War
about?
III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. It's
with
back
all
to you.
respect to your
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said
very
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once?
A lot of times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
you said thank
Even
you.
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
After that showdown, Zelenskyy has proposed to negotiate towards a ceasefire, but Russia since then has rejected calls for any temporary truce. Russia wants a final resolution, but where does this leave Ukraine at this juncture? About 19% of Ukrainian territory is now in Russian hands, so if there is to be a resolution, is Zelenskyy willing to reconcile himself with a shrunken Ukraine?
Американська сторона хотіла, щоб українська сторона продемонструвала готовність до швидких кроків до закінчення війни. Після цього, якщо українська сторона продемонструє, американська сторона давала нам слово, що вона відновить допомогу, так, і американська сторона це зробила. Ми продемонстрували, вони це зробили. Чи готові ми до припинення вогню або до тиші? Ми конкретно це зробили і сказали так. А питання, чи буде готова на це руська сторона. Друге, чи готові наші партнери до моніторингу технічного. Це дуже важливий аспект. Я відверто говорив, що вважаю, що тиша в небі і тиша на морі зрозуміло, як моніторити для нас. Але якщо це тиша всюди, розуміючи, з ким ми маємо справи і розуміючи, маючи досвід минулих років, то тут потрібна технічна допомога. Партнери запевняють в цьому і про це говорили сторони. Це дуже важливо. Після такого кроку може бути використана пропозиція, та, яка була вчора на столі перемовин від американської сторони, 30-денний термін, підготувати повністю план щодо закінчення війни. З покроковий план з гарантіями безпеки для української сторони. Якщо все це буде зроблено, то після підготовки цього плану у будь-якому випадку поетапне виконання, яке призведе до закінчення війни. Після закінчення війни буде знятий військовий стан, і після зняття військового стану вибори будуть проходити згідно українському законодавству. Ніхто нічого спеціально відтерміновувати не буде.
And what of NATO? After all, it is Ukraine's growing closeness to NATO that was considered to be one of the reasons for the Russian invasion. But now, with Donald Trump laying the ultimatum to Zelenskyy to sue for peace and do it quickly, has the security umbrella that many European countries relied on American support for been rendered irrelevant?
We had a meeting today, as you know, with President Zelenskyy, and I would say it didn't work out exactly great from his standpoint. I think he very much overplayed his hand. We're looking for peace. We're not looking for somebody that's going to sign up a strong power and then not make peace because they feel emboldened, and that's what I saw happening. I'm looking for peace. We're not looking to go into a 10-year war and play games. We want peace. And it was just my impression that if we do that, if we sign up, he's looking for something that I'm not looking for. He's looking to go on and fight. We're looking to end the death. 2,000 people died this week, soldiers, more than that, but 2,000 approximately people died this week. Young Ukrainians and Russians.
Western European countries, whether their inclinations are to the left or to the right, have decided to rally behind Ukraine for now. But how much can Ukrainian resistance continue with their support and without American support?
To strengthen our relationship with America, an indispensable partners in defence and security. And it's why this weekend I've been hosting European leaders here in London to work together for the security of the United Kingdom, Ukraine, and Europe as a whole. Through my discussions over recent days, we've agreed that the UK, France, and others will work with Ukraine on a plan to stop the fighting. Then we'll discuss that plan with the United States. Our starting point must be to put Ukraine in the strongest possible position now, so that they can negotiate from a position of strength. And we are doubling down in our support. Yesterday evening, the UK signed a £2.2 billion loan to provide more military aid to Ukraine.
Et donc ce que nous devons faire aujourd'hui, c'est à mes yeux deux choses. C'est de nous assurer que si, en quelque sorte, l'Ukraine était sous pression, les Européens pourraient lui fournir ce qu'il faut pour se défendre. Et donc, pour moi, c'est l'un des objectifs, d'ailleurs, de la réunion que nous tiendrons à Londres dimanche, puis du Conseil européen du 6. Et la deuxième, c'est que si une paix était négociée par les Ukrainiens, parce qu'il n'y a pas de paix qui peut toucher l'Ukraine sans les Ukrainiens, que nous apportions des garanties de sécurité durable. Et dans ce contexte-là, la France et les Britanniques ont travaillé sur des solutions très concrètes pour maintenir et apporter des garanties de sécurité sur le terrain. Ouais. Et on est à un moment où l'Europe découvre, et je m'en félicite, qu'elle n'est plus simplement un marché, qu'elle doit être une puissance. Et donc qu'elle doit produire son savoir, qu'elle doit produire sa technologie, qu'elle doit produire ses solutions économiques, qu'elle doit produire ses solutions climatiques et qu'elle doit produire ses solutions de défense et de sécurité.
But it's not as if Donald Trump is an isolationist. In the Middle East, America, consistent with its policy, has stood wholeheartedly behind Israel in its ongoing war with Hamas in Gaza. There's been a fragile ceasefire underway, but Donald Trump has been insistent that Hamas keep its side of the bargain, else they'll be held to pay. The big question, however, is whether there's any resolution in sight. Israel is keen that Hamas and its vestiges be eliminated, but how realistic is that? Also, is there any potential whatsoever for a lasting peace? In the initial stages of the war, amid a strong Israeli response to the terror attacks of the 7th of October 2023, the theatre of conflict did expand beyond Gaza to Lebanon as well. There is still, however, a serious threat of further escalation. The Middle East continues to remain volatile. While there's been a change of dispensation in Syria, what we are currently witnessing is nothing short of a civil war between those loyal to the new government and those loyal to the ousted Bashar al-Assad. But where does all this leave India? As far as Ukraine is concerned, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has met both President Vladimir Putin of Russia and President Zelenskyy, visiting both Moscow and Kyiv.
एक्सेलेंसी, रूस और यूक्रेन के बीच चल रहे संघर्ष के विषय पर हम लगातार संपर्क में रहे हैं। जैसा मैंने पहले भी कहा है, हमारा मानना है कि समस्याओं का समाधान शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से ही होना चाहिए। शांति और स्थिरता की जल्द से जल्द बहाली का हम पूरी तरह समर्थन करते हैं। हमारे सभी प्रयास मानवता को प्रमुखता देते हैं। आने वाले समय में भी भारत हर संभव सहयोग देने के लिए तैयार है। एक्सेलेंसी, आज इन सभी विषयों पर विचार साझा करने का एक और महत्वपूर्ण अवसर है। हम पहले दिन से ही पक्षकार रहे हैं और हमारा पक्ष है शांति का। हम बुद्ध की धरती से आते हैं, जहां युद्ध को कोई स्थान नहीं होता। हम महात्मा गांधी की धरती से आते हैं, जिसने पूरे विश्व को शांति का संदेश दिया है। एक्सेलेंसी, मैं आज जब यूक्रेन आया हूं तब मैं 140 करोड़ भारतीयों की भावना को लेकर के आया हूं, और 140 करोड़ भारतीयों की भावना मानवता से प्रेरित है। और मैं आज यूक्रेन की धरती पर शांति का संदेश लेकर के आया।
India has insisted that this is not an era of war, and Mr. Modi has also explained that India is against the war. Whether there is a role for countries like India, who have walked the diplomatic tightrope so far and refrained from taking sides in favor of or against any of the two participants in negotiating an end to the conflict, remains to be seen.
आप जानते हैं, मैं रशिया और यूक्रेन दोनों से लगातार संपर्क में रहा हूं। मैं स्वयं भी दोनों देश की मुलाकात कर चुका हूं। बहुत से लोगों का एक भ्रम है कि भारत न्यूट्रल है। मैं साफ करना चाहता हूं, भारत न्यूट्रल नहीं है। हमारा अपना एक पक्ष है, और हमारा पक्ष है शांति, पीस। और मैंने इसी एक हमारे सिद्धांत को लेकर के राष्ट्रपति पुतिन की हाजिरी में मीडिया के सामने स्पष्ट रूप से कहा था कि युद्ध का समय नहीं है। और आज भी मेरा कन्विक्शन है कि युद्ध के मैदान में समस्याओं के समाधान नहीं निकलते हैं, अल्टीमेटली वार्ता के टेबल पर ही होते हैं। और भारत का लगातार प्रयास रहा है कि दोनों लोग जिसमें मौजूद हो वैसे फोरम में बातचीत होगी, तब कोई रास्ता निकलेगा। राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप जो प्रयास कर रहे हैं, मैं उनका स्वागत करता हूं, समर्थन करता हूं, और मैं चाहता हूं कि राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप हो सके उतना जल्दी सफल हो, ताकि दुनिया में शांति के रास्ते खुले।
In the Middle East, India has always batted for a two-state solution, and this position has been reiterated multiple times. During Prime Minister Modi's tenure, India's ties with Israel have grown closer, but that hasn't impacted its advocacy of a separate Palestinian state living side by side with Israel. But conflict characterized by wars is not the only feature that has resulted in a divided world today. There is a conflict without guns underway, and that's over tariffs. The United States under Donald Trump has acted against three of its major trading partners, China, Mexico and Canada, by imposing tariffs on key products in response to what Trump has claimed have always been unfair terms of trade against his country.
There is absolutely no justification or need whatsoever for these tariffs today. Now, the legal pretext your government is using to bring in these tariffs is that Canada is apparently unwilling to help in the fight against illegal fentanyl. Well, that is totally false.
The United States is applying a 25% tariff on imports of steel and aluminum. We deeply regret this measure. Tariffs are taxes. They are bad for business and worse for consumers. They are disrupting supply chains. They bring uncertainty for the economy. Jobs are at stake, prices up. Nobody needs that on both sides, neither in the European Union nor in the United States. We must act to protect consumers and business. The countermeasures we take today are strong but proportionate. As the United States are applying tariffs worth $28 billion, we are responding with countermeasures worth 26 billion euros. This matches the economic scope of the tariffs of the United States.
Today, I am announcing that the Government of Canada, following a dollar-for-dollar approach, will impose, starting at 12:01 a.m. tomorrow, March 13th, reciprocal tariffs of 25% on $29.8 billion worth of imports coming from the United States. That will include steel products for $12.6 billion, aluminum products worth $3 billion, and American-made additional products worth $14.2 billion. Our government will use all the tools at its disposal to support businesses and workers during these difficult times. Other measures to help workers and businesses will be announced as needed, and I'm very encouraged once again.
Trump has also threatened reciprocal tariffs against India, even as the two countries are negotiating a bilateral trade agreement.
On average, the European Union, China, Brazil, India, Mexico and Canada, have you heard of them? And countless other nations charge us tremendously higher tariffs than we charge them. It's very unfair. India charges us auto tariffs higher than 100%. April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs kick in. And whatever they tariff us, other countries, we will tariff them. That's reciprocal, back and forth. Whatever they tax us, we will tax them. If they do non-monetary tariffs to keep us out of their market, then we will do non-monetary barriers to keep them out of our market. There's a lot of that, too. They don't even allow us in their market.
Tesla, whose CEO, Elon Musk, is a close Trump aide and also the chair of the Department of Government Efficiency in the United States, has rented premises in Mumbai, and both Jio as well as Airtel have announced a collaboration with Musk's Starlink. Prime Minister Modi was in Mauritius early this week, whose ties with India go back a long way, with many citizens of that country sharing an Indian ancestry. But that apart, the two countries are also close partners when it comes to both development and maritime security in the Indian Ocean region. As India continues to emerge as a leader in the global south, these partnerships are key to ensuring that India remains the voice for countries like Mauritius on critical issues on global platforms.
ग्लोबल साउथ हो, हिंद महासागर हो या अफ्रीका भूभाग, मॉरिशस हमारा महत्वपूर्ण साझेदार है। 10 वर्ष पहले विजन सागर यानी सिक्योरिटी एंड ग्रोथ फॉर ऑल इन द रीजन की आधारशिला यहीं मॉरिशस में रखी गई थी। इस पूरे क्षेत्र की स्थिरता और समृद्धि के लिए हम सागर विजन लेकर चले हैं। आज इसको आगे बढ़ाते हुए मैं कहना चाहूंगा कि ग्लोबल साउथ के लिए हमारा विजन रहेगा सागर से आगे बढ़कर के महासागर, यानी म्यूचुअल एंड होलिस्टिक एडवांसमेंट फॉर सिक्योरिटी एंड ग्रोथ अक्रॉस रीजन्स। इसमें ट्रेड फॉर डेवलपमेंट, कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग फॉर सस्टेनेबल ग्रोथ और म्यूचुअल सिक्योरिटी फॉर शेयर्ड फ्यूचर की भावना समाहित है।
In India's own neighborhood, there's uncertainty. The Baloch insurgent group, the Balochistan Liberation Army, held hundreds hostage while laying siege on a train. The Pakistan Army claims that it has ended the rescue operation, adding that 21 civilians and 4 soldiers were killed and that the security forces killed 33 insurgents, including suicide bombers. In Bangladesh, the situation remains unstable amid reports of a factional feud within the Bangladesh army. So this remains a time of conflict and great uncertainty as well, making the diplomatic grade game all the more complex.